this looping code. Hollow gods in download mode. I scream in static, breathe in rust, and all I built will turn to dust.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to Dershi Radio, as we do what I like to call for this one, interview on the ARK, for the play on words for Pro Wrestling Noah. For those that do know me, I am Matt, or AKA that corner reviewer on the Dershi Radio that covers TNA Wrestling. And to join me this time, special guests, we're going to be talking about the book for Pro Wrestling Noah, Freedom and Faith. I'd like to introduce you all to Mr. John Foye. John, welcome.
Thanks for having me on. It's pleasure to finally get to do this. We've been talking about this for a minute, so good to be underway with it.
As we have followed each other for quite a couple of years now. This is good, like our first legit conversation with one another with this. So. And it's fitting. It's for your book, which I'm actually going to display for people, the physical copy, Freedom and Faith, Pro Wrestling Noah Beyond the Green Mat. I saw you post about it, and already I was immediately intrigued. But for those that don't know you, tell them a little bit about yourself.
So when I'm not writing about pro wrestling, I'm a journalist by background. I teach at 3 universities here in Australia. So in Sydney, I'm at 3 places, just waiting for that to sort of start up pretty soon. Outside of work, I've got a 6-year-old kid, another child on the way. So lots of stuff keeping me busy this time of year. But yeah, I started writing about wrestling in the pandemic as a way of kind of using that time that we had during lockdowns here to try to sort of use my time in a bit more of a meaningful way, do something I'd been meaning to do for a long time. So that was the context for where the books came from, and basically try to keep myself busy with these things. Like, these are my passions as far as pro wrestling goes, and a few other topics I like to write about. Kind of trying to prioritize that as much as I can just before I get busy again with the universities going back.
Right now, sure. And is this like your first like published book, or do you have other published?
This is the first one that's like through a publisher. So before that, I had 2 others that were from sort of self-published from Amazon. So that was Gunbaru, How Old Japan Pro Wrestling Survived the Year 2000 Roster Split, and the Muto years, looking at Muto era All Japan. So yeah, those 2 were like my own deal, and this one's the first time I got something through Hybrid Shoot, which outfit based in America that run by John Snowden. Really guy is really passionate about professional wrestling, and kind of they do a lot of other wrestling sort of books and cool projects like that. I've got another one coming up through them eventually as well, that Fumi Saito and I wrote about All Japan Women's Pro Wrestling. So kind of looking at...
I'm looking forward to that one.
I'm looking forward to it coming out too. I'm actually hoping I'll be meeting Bull Nakano in 2 weeks. She'll be in Sydney for a signing. So that's like something I'm looking forward to. Just kind of anything I have a chance to kind of meet these people and talk to them is always really cool and important. A lot of them will be happy to discuss stuff with you and are quite happy to meet their fans. So that's always, I think, the highlight here is some of the people that have been quite willing to share some of their stories in the crazy world of wrestling with me.
Right. So what about Puroresu interested you?
So I think it was initially, I was in high school. We had the Apta mags were pretty big. That was my way of kind of more keeping in contact with like the WWF at the time and stuff like that.
Right.
And they always had a section devoted to Japan, and I always knew Japanese wrestling as that thing that Mick Foley went through, and so you think about that, and it's basically like the violent stuff. It's the death matches that he had. So my first concept of Japanese pro wrestling was that, right? I thought it must
So
be
was it the Tournament of Death?
the Tournament of Death and the matches with like Terry Funk over there and sort of the IWA stuff as well. And from there, it was like obviously WWF had the likes of Tajiri here and there and the kinds of people like that came through. And Tajiri, I'm a big Tajiri fan.
Right.
So checking into that and the coverage that they had at the time of this split in the year 2000 was interesting. It's like, here's Vader, someone I knew from WWF who was over there, and kind of going, hang on, but he's an American. What's he doing over there? And what's his part in all of this? Like, is he going to be loyal to Motoko Baba, or is he going to Pro Wrestling Noah? And the coverage that they had at the time was speculating about all that. So that kind of drove me in initially. Then, like a lot of people, the 2000s, I had the message boards that had on these websites the kind of free matches that people would be posting. So people would be posting Pro Wrestling Noah at the time, and 90s All Japan, and a little bit of All Japan Women's. So those are the ones I really got into, without really knowing any of the context or backstory to any of that. Just kind of dove right into seeing.
Like, you just didn't know who these people were, what these
No
companies were
idea.
about. You just went in blind type.
People are like talking up Kobashi, and I knew about Kobashi through Mick Foley's first book. But in terms of the actual kind of chance to have any context whatsoever, completely blind. That was an interesting way of watching it, though. It's not the worst way, but definitely you get more from knowing the backstories and from knowing some of the context, but I didn't have that at the time.
Right. No, because my introduction was, I was a kid. I was like 10 years old. It was my cousin had the Shout DVDs, and one of them had a Hayabusa. So Hayabusa was my introduction to the Puro scene, and I love Hayabusa. Also, shout out to the one that's a new incarnation. Great job so far. Fantastic stuff. He's going to be in the United States for the WrestleMania weekend. But yeah, it was stuff like that because my cousin had like the death matches stuff type of thing. And then again, so my introduction to just hardcore in general was ECW at the time. So I just see all this. I'm just like, geez. And at the same time, like, it was kind of cool. And then I'll.
Whole different thing, right? Like if you're used to ECW to see like
The FNWs.
right? I think they had a series of tapes. I don't know if they were bootlegs or what, but they were selling them in like, like your flea markets kind of thing with Hayabusa on that home tape.
Yeah, I never questioned where he got them. He just randomly put them on whenever like spend a night there. And I hear this and like, who are these and why is this so bloody?
Yeah.
And then I got the Hayabusa doing his regular matches. Oh, this guy's really cool. Then all of a sudden I see him at a Heat Wave. Sounds like I fucking love it. And then I find out he broke his neck, and I was upset.
His story is really, really quite sad in a lot of ways, and just kind of like, I don't know. There are moments there after the accident where he's like walking again, and where he was at Kobashi's retirement show.
Yeah.
And dressed out in moments of hope, and just one of those guys. Yeah, like I don't think you can replicate him exactly, but I think this person that has just stepped into the role is doing a really credible job, considering.
Right. No, guys, I was skeptical when we were gonna get another one. I was like, how's it? The guy was been so long. And I like how it introduced as, the novelty of what the moves he used to do, the music, and then slowly integrate into like someone that's a part of the roster and not just a showcase. So I like that. I like that people were picking up on it, and you didn't know who he was under the mask. Like, is it like a younger guy? Is it someone like his 30s, 40s type of thing? Like, I would love to talk one day. I'd like to talk to him about like how all that came to be. But
yeah.
But outside of that, like, I didn't see much wrestling Japanese wise to like, the Kobashi coming to the US against Samoa Joe, and because I had the Best in the World DVD, and then YouTube became a thing, so I would see some of these like upload on YouTube, and I got to learn about all this. And then yeah, you get like a little deep dive. You learn about Old Japan, the New Japan. Now we got like streaming services for everything. Now we have the Real Hero Archive. We had all of that, and now people are learning more about the Japanese wrestling, which is great. Also they have the IVP video. I used to get stuff from them. That's still like great stuff if you want just a physical copy of these matches, type of thing. But with the Noah, what was it about Noah that intrigued you?
I mean, initially, like the very first time I watched it, it was people were talking up the stuff that Kenta and Marufuji were doing at the time. Like this was 2006 and 2007. So
right.
That was the time when they were really, really quite hot acts. And kind of a lot of people talking about this is All Japan, but it's not. It's the acts that used to be part of All Japan in the 90s that are now out on their own in this new company. So that was intriguing off the bat. The story of the split was intriguing off the bat. In terms of the actual product, like anyone else, was initially, first of all, drawn in by some of the crazy stuff that they were doing in the ring. The bumps off the apron and the mid 2000s stuff that the Noah guys were doing, like the craziness that you see in some of those matches in the 2000s and the way they're trying to top one another. And not just how hard hitting all of that was and more than that though, underneath all of that, these guys have compelling backstories as well, which I think is important when it comes to forming attachments to some of these wrestlers. You need more than just these guys can go in the ring,
Right.
Each one of these guys has a very interesting backstory as far as kind of why they got into wrestling and some of the struggles and things that they encountered while they're in there. Like you look at Misawa and the tragic life that he had, or sort of the instances of Kobashi needing to make his way back as well. And
Right.
I just kind of found a lot of this stuff just really compelling. And like, that's, there are so many stories that so many people already know about these guys, but also things that I only learned when I was researching for the book. So I think a lot of it is stuff that like, there's always more to learn about, and being out of context too, not knowing the language as much as I would like, and not
Right.
being as good a Japanese speaker as I'd like to be. I've been over there 11 times now, and each time reminds me how much I need to learn more of this language. There's so much more to dig into, right?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. There's still like so much to learn about, like whether it's the culture, the business. There's just so much, and I think this is like a great first semester for people that are new to the Japanese scene or don't know about Noah, or they know about Noah during like the dying years, like Suzuki-gun, or when Cyber Agent like bought him to like help him like try to reclaim that the former glory they had before the pass of the Misawa. Because we have a lot of people that like they probably don't have they haven't seen Misawa match, or they've heard of Misawa but weren't there around when he was alive, that type of thing. But for the book, how did this come together? Like, who did you talk to bring this together? And I know you had stuff like with Hisame, Fumi Saito. Like, did you like talk to them too to collab to help out? Like, like give them like the Noah weekly that Hisame does great job with her with doing that, and the stuff that Saito collected like with interviews. Like, were you able to like how did that process start?
Oh, it's like a lot of other things. It's messy, and it's like there's not one like singular thing to it as well. I was lucky in knowing Fumi from the previous books and all the help he's given me. Same with Hisame, like with the stuff she's translated as well and her opinions on things. I also, someone who's recorded podcasts with Fumi who helped a whole lot with this, who I can't sort of put over enough. Justin M. Nipper works for Cyber Agent and for Cyberfight and for Noah he's done English commentary for them before. He's also done some bits and pieces with translating things, and I kind of through him and he's working their comms team. I got him first of all, like he answered a bunch of questions for me, but then he put me in touch with other members of their comms team through which I organized interviews. So I got to speak to, indirectly anyway, I got to speak to Marufuji, to Sugira, and to, sorry, it's been a while here and I haven't even looked
I'm
at
trying to
it.
think, like, was it Jack Morris or
Jack Morris. Yeah. So
okay,
that was the English language person. I didn't need a Scottish to English translation for that one, thankfully, but
right,
I did have the work of Justin there and translating those interviews. So he put the questions to them, they answered. He then got those answers back and translated them to English. And so, most indirect possible way for talking to those guys. I haven't spoken to them in person yet, but those guys were great like that. Then I reached out through Facebook to some people. So there was, oh geez, there's so many names here just kind of floating around in my brain here. But Ryan Fujiwara did a couple of tours in NOAA, more than a couple. He was there with them for a year from 2016 to 2017 during the
right.
NOAA Born kind of period, the early stage of that. And I got some notes from him, and we sat down in Tokyo, and I put some questions to him. Geez, there's going to be people I'm going to forget here, I'm sure. But as far as legends go, Richard Slinger had a lot of tours for NOAA, a lot of tours with All Japan before that, and he obviously is, as being the nephew of Terry Gordy, could speak to some of the legends as well that he'd worked with, and to Vader and people like that. So, but the key guy I really want to mention here, Mike Modest, did the foreword to that book, and just adds a lot of credibility to it. The stories he told were awesome. He is oftentimes forgotten, I think, or too easily forgotten for his contributions there in early NOAA, and he just has some really amazing fun matches that are worth checking out in the junior heavyweight scene. Yeah, so I had an interview with him, and then he wrote the foreword to the book. So that's another key one there. I'm gonna forget others, but I think some key people there, and as far as past and present members of the roster goes, it's I think I was lucky with the people I got to speak to.
Yeah, no, that it's awesome that they were able to help you out, even if you didn't speak to them directly. It's nice that they were on board getting the story told about Noah. I think that's just excellent. And I know you mentioned Fumi Saito, because I talked to him also. I did an interview time when I was doing the Suwama station, and he was so knowledgeable. Like, it was just stuff I didn't even know, like about with the four pillars and all that.
Yeah,
just how like came to be, or like why it was like that, like called that. Like, again, great knowledgeable guy. He always, I always think he deserves the credit whenever he gets it. But like I said, yeah, when you did the projects, I saw those physical copy. I had to do the physical copy because it's always like, because I always like reading books. Wrestling books are fun. Like, one of my favorite books is the Buddy Rogers book a couple years ago. So fascinating. But yeah, I like the detail. Like, again, like you sourced everything from like all these pages. I like that because it gives context for people that don't know about it, or like, hey, if you want to check out that interview or that newsletter, or like Dave Meltzer or something like that, you can just go to something like that. There was even stuff here like I didn't know about, like the inspiration for Horace Hoffman for the Greens. But that's cool. I like that there's the homage to it, and with the Yakuza, I thought it was just the like the 2013, like 2010s type of thing. I didn't know, like, when Vader talked about, like, he saw Misawa talking to, like, when it basically started. That I didn't know.
I mean, he had a bunch of loan sharks that he dealt with that financed it, and kind of some shady people. The other one that's interesting is a lot of the, so this is, I only learned about this recently, is a lot of in Japanese pro wrestling, because they take so much from the sumo traditions.
Right.
A lot of the way that their regional shows in particular work is you have to send that, like, you sell a show to a regional promoter who will put, usually a businessman, oftentimes with zero understanding of professional wrestling, and they will put the regional shows on. A lot of those shows, in particular in the early days of Puro, were connected to the Yakuza and were funded through them. And so, yeah, not always the best people who are putting on your regional spot shows. So I found that fascinating as well, as far as, that process and stuff like that. I think the real thing that kind of killed any kind of connection to the Yakuza is these huge IT companies that kind of stepped in and bought a lot of these wrestling companies. Like once they've got the money behind them like that, they've no need
Yeah,
for.
to make them like get away from the ties from like that. Because and again, because I when I watched the Dark Side of MMA, they did a whole thing about Pride, and the Yakuza was more involved in that too. So I'm like, you know what? Probably around that time, like it's no shock, because like around that time, like Yakuza run almost anything, any type of business, whether it was MMA or like wrestling, sports, entertainment, that type of thing. So, but it's just weird. Like it was just wild. Like even Misawa too. Like he knew, and if it was something to do, then. But no, I think yeah, with Noah, like it was definitely crucial when it got forward, because like, and then Baba passed and Noki go into like a different direction with like before what we call like the Dark Ages, or the early 2000s. So like this showed like how important Noah needed to be to capture like those elements of what people loved, and like, or like the glory years, like the 80s 90s of All Japan, New Japan, that type of thing. So it's just stuff like that. It just works out so well, and I like the detail of it, the formation of it, um, the stuff with Misawa and Mrs. Baba. Um, yeah,
Often
so
misunderstood too. Like people kind of hear the Misawa Baba thing, and they kind of go, "These two hated each other. These two never got along." But it's like she was, in many ways, maternal kind of figure. You can't really do these changes to All Japan with her around. You kind of see the situation form where he had to leave home basically to do his own thing.
right, yeah, and then that's what led to the Exodus, because it was more like how long can someone like Misawa stay, like especially with if times weren't going to change. Like, would he just be there till he like retired, or like do you, like with the people you talk to, do you think he would have done something different if he didn't inform Noah? Like, what do you think he would have done personally? Like,
I gain the sense from everything that I've read and from people that I've spoken to. Cameron Lee is another one who's done a lot of great work in this space as far as translation of books and things that he's found at Kinstalker. For those of you that don't know him, if you're watching something like this, you perhaps do, but he he's very adamant from what he's seen, and I come to the same conclusion that Baba was basically Motoko was carrying out the work of her husband and the will of her husband, that All Japan stayed largely the same, that you preserve this business as it was and run it in a very conservative and traditional sort of sense. And all of that ended up changing over time anyway, but once Motoko was no longer involved. And I just get the sense that he could not have achieved it. Misawa, that is, could not have achieved what he wanted within All Japan because it's such a traditional wrestling brand that didn't bring in outside people for things like pyrotechnics. It didn't involve kind of spending a whole heap of additional money beyond what you need to. It ran as mom and pop kind of, to use an American expression
right,
that Fumi used all the time when I was speaking to him, that it had a small business feel to it, despite doing big business. And that kind of thing was not something that Motoko was willing to change, that I think that he had to leave in order to, for Misawa to make his own footprint. Misawa needed to leave All Japan. I think he may have otherwise simply quit wrestling. He eventually wanted to do that anyway, to get out of the business. But we
yeah.
see it works out for him.
Yeah, because again, it's at a big time. Like he could have done New Japan, but with the direction they were going, like he definitely wouldn't have fit in. Like I think it would have made him more like bitter, miserable, and there was a lot of Japanese promotions that were like on that scale of those two, because they were around for like 25 years at that point, like almost 30 years. And but you had like Dragon Gate, 01, DDT started out. Like it wouldn't be like the same vision. So I think that's why it was so important for him to start this new company, this ARK. And I like the little biblical reference because of the Noah's Ark. Because I always thought that was cool. Like I'm not a religious person, but at the same time, it's just fascinating. That's where he got the inspiration, and the green on top of it with the wrestling he liked. And yeah, I also like how you like talked about like the title reigns, and particularly Kenta Kobashi, who has his own chapter of just his title reigns and his matches. Um, what was it about that ring that you felt like it was just so important to like the Japanese wrestling history?
I think it's the one that in some ways solidifies Noah, definitely in their business sense, as far as the way that they drew people. And in some ways, I mean, Dave Meltzer described him as kind of almost the last legitimate world champion at the time. Like he thought of him as having this run that solidified that title and that solidified Noah as a business, and one that even could have gone longer, really. Could have had some more juice to it had they decided to run it even longer, but ultimately they decided to end it when they did. But that one just has a lot of crazy matches to it, and beyond that too, just kind of we see his peak of his career in that moment as well. And I don't know, it just makes for a change of pace in the book to go from the chronology to this theme chapter and looking at his reign and kind of all the different matches in there. A lot of different things that I had never seen before writing it as well that I got a chance to check out just through researching for this one. So stuff like his first title defense and stuff like that that I otherwise might never have checked out.
Right, because this is one because he was one like I think still has the record like the longest world title days, like number of days. Like the one that was close to it was Okada back in like 2017, 2018 type of thing. And I know you talked about like what he lost there, like it was time for him to lose it, but the person that beat him, it felt like a little deflated.
Yeah,
That
Rikio was a great performer, but it's kind of like, how do you live up to this? A lot of pressure on him to do that, and it just happened at the wrong time. I think maybe if you give him some more time to build up, maybe you put it on someone else that was ready.
like
That's
because
issues with
sorry, because with Kabashi's story, because like he never beat Misawa for a title. That's why it was like so important, and it was such a right time. Because when you talk about '90s All Japan, they always talk about how Misawa was the greatest, but when you go to like Noah, that was Kobashi. Because we think of Kobashi more, while Misawa was more or less like winding down with like the injuries and stuff like that. Like Kobashi was red hot, and that was so I kind of get why they felt like either it could have gone a little longer or they could have given it to someone else, like a Takayama, like a proper run or a Drew Nakayama again, because they had history too. So I get why they felt like it was more of it could have been better for it to end, but the fact that we got this reign, like it, I think that's what drew people in more in those early 2000s when we had like Nakamura or like slowly the slow rise of Suwama, like people in other companies that weren't there on that level quite yet, but you had a Kobashi that also drew business. So, I said that is something you definitely captivated to explain like why it was such a big deal in that time. but but was that we definitely talked about the Yakuza, and that was again that was still just such a wild story, even like back then.
right? Like, and I mean, they the hard thing with that too, it's kind of hard to encapsulate. Like, they're not as big a part of Japanese society anymore because of certain police operations and ways to try to tackle that. But definitely something that gets brought up and has a lot of fascination for good reason, right?
Right.
I know every crime story and the way in which they kind of got involved in that scandal. That means that's basically the reason why Noah's not on. Yeah, certainly not on what you might call terrestrial TV. Not like obviously they've got their streaming deal, but they're not on NTV anymore. Largely still because of what happened then, as far as the Yakuza scan on 2012 and 2013.
Right.
Yeah, just kind of the stuff that led to them winding down that relationship as well is interesting. Yeah, it kind of prevented them from being able to renegotiate.
Yeah. But if that didn't kill it, this I feel like almost did, and that was the Suzuki gun, the Suzuki gun reign. Because again, no disrespect to Minoru Suzuki, great talent, but like just that reign. Like what about it you feel like that? Do you think that could have killed the company if he kept being the champion? Because again, he has stuff like Hurricane Hall, like it drew like low numbers. Like
Yeah,
what was it about it? You felt like that was like almost the last straw to them after everything they had been through.
I think part of it was the sense that having, in the end, I think it was Jado that was booking Noah at the time, and it
Yeah,
was kind of matches that had run-ins, but I mean that's not really that important. It's more the sense that your main event had that, your kind of GHC title match, which people thought about as being a fairly traditional kind of heavyweight wrestling contest, becomes this kind of mess, and where it sort of becomes this thing of there was what Fumi calls a New Japanness to Noah at the time, which was
yeah,
meant to, it kind of goes against what the Noah fans largely thought about. But the other factor there that was really huge too is when Misawa dies in the ring in 2009, a lot of the fans are kind of either leave or are put on edge by this because you don't want to see your favorite wrestler, you don't want to see your hero die, is how
right.
Fumi. And so maybe some people were kind of on the fence about Noah, and then having this storyline that they didn't care for kind of put a lot of them over the edge and saw them leave. Yeah, like the talent is unbelievable, and there's some great matches from that time period. Certainly, the Noah versus New Japan stuff was compelling when it was held in New Japan, like the Marufuji in the G1 and the kinds of
Right.
matches. There's a great match in the final part, like the final night of the G1, where it's Noah versus New Japan, and Go Shiozaki gets the shit booed out of him. Like people are insane and all over him on that one. You see a crazy Shibata headbutt in that match. Shibata against the Noah guys as well was insane. So there's good moments, but it's overall just kind of a mess of different booking philosophies and question about what's New Japan getting out of this. Are they maybe aiming to kind of ultimately own Noah outright? Or kind of are they looking perhaps to sort of cool Noah down that little bit, was what a lot of fans were speculating about. I just dare say it's more a matter of kind of guys like Jado book certain ways. They kind of operate in certain ways, and
Yeah.
they didn't understand what was cool about the product. So interesting
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, it was more. Yeah, I feel like it was more like an experiment because he saw Ghetto doing kind of stuff, kind of like that. It's like, okay, maybe we could try it here, and it's like a negative.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. Like what works for one product at the time doesn't work in the other. I mean, Team 2000X is a hot act at the moment in Japan, and they have a lot of interference in their matches. But I think they almost, because someone like Ozawa goes against the traditional structures of Noah so much, that they almost allow it there in that case. Whereas someone else coming in from the outside and inflicting this is a very different dynamic, and one that they were not up for in 2016. It's funny what translates to business in one sense just doesn't in another.
Yeah, like it could work fine in one place, but not in another. It's like it's like a talent. You could be a top guy one place, and the other one you might not be what they're looking for, and you it doesn't fully work out. Like when Ric Flair went to the league for the first time, the guy was a top huge star in the Crockett NWA, but once he got there, it's like it's not a big deal.
And making a PG Ric Flair, a guy that, like, if you can't have Ric Flair in there talking about his conquests and talking about getting drunk all night and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it becomes a very strange act.
Yep. It's like if you don't know about him.
Still
Yeah,
get fun out of it, but yeah, it just doesn't translate.
uh, and I know you wrote a chapter about Kaito. Like he was, like when he was started, he was like this young, fresh, young talent. Like it was someone that they did need because they focused more too much on the old guard, and in a way they still kind of do because you still have but like what do you think about Kaito that either cooled off, like he's not seen as this top like face of the company anymore type of thing? Like I don't know, like was it the bookend? Was it Muda? Like I'm
So
trying.
yeah, I think he's still viewed in very important ways, and I think the company still sees a lot in him. I think he's still one of their main guys, in a way that maybe we don't see here in the West, but certainly has a huge following. I think the deal with him is like he was the guy, and I'm talking about the singular talent that they were behind in the previous administration. So the guys
Yeah,
that were under, I'm trying to remember the executive's name. He was the exec that took over after New Japan kind of withdrew from Noah. During the
right.
Noah era, he used to run All Japan. He was a former All Japan president as well. The name's going to occur to me later. It's not
Yeah,
as, but the Noah the New Year, Noah New Era kind of period with him and Keno as the two people vying for the GHC heavyweight title. That was under a different ownership to what they have now, and that ownership, he was the ace of that kind of thing. Whereas
yeah,
now he's kind of had, I think he's part of a broader team of people that they shuffle around. So
right.
Ozawa, especially, the current champion as well, I think that they see potential in shuffling things a bit more, whereas before it was largely on Kaito's back. He also had a huge title run that I don't think they would seek to replicate now in terms of its sort of longevity. But yeah,
Right.
he was on a different level as being the guy that largely pulled the wagon for the promotion for that year and a half or however long it was.
Yeah. Back then, like when he got it the first time, I think that was something they needed. Like they needed that fresh face, and he was someone that would like represent the company. Like when he had that the summer memorial with Sugiura, I think that's what like showcased it for people. Like this is like the young emerald and like stuff like that. And I guess that's why I was so curious. Like along the way, like something happened. Like whether it was like when Muda came in, like the new ownership, and then whatever happened with him and Okada, that all of a sudden treat him like crap.
Oh, I love that. I might be in a minority of one here, but I utterly love that Okada feud and that Okada match.
Oh, I love the feud. It's just more
Yeah.
of like the payoff. Like I felt like there was like just beat the crap out of him for like 15 minutes and that was it. And like,
he has
like
these moments
nothing.
he has these moments though against Okada though where I was buying into every near fall. I knew he would. Maybe my disappointment was different because I knew going in, there's no way he's beating Okada.
Right.
One of those things of Okada is almost the final boss of Japanese pro wrestling, no matter
At the
what.
time, yeah.
And this is a feud is all about him calling out that final boss, wanting almost to get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Saying, I want to feel the Rainmaker and know what it's like to take that move. And so
Yeah.
he gets that and so much more in the end.
Yeah.
I hope
I was low key hoping they had a rematch when he joined the G1. I was like, oh, come on, we gotta get it.
I was so disappointed that they didn't do that too. I really thought if you're putting him in there, you have to do that for business sake, and then they didn't do it. And
yeah, like not even a block finalist. Like he,
right?
I was like, really? And then I got to play there. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Okada being back in Japan when he was surprised me. Like I didn't expect to see him there in January, and that was sooner than I thought we would see him back. So I maybe I'm just on pure high copium right now, pure undiluted copium, but I hope to one day see him back enough that we could get that rematch, because I know right now the politics are there that would stop it from happening, but
Right.
it feels like you got that match, you got the tag match at one of the All Together shows that they were in, and then
it was Tanahashi, Okada, then Muda, and Kaito.
and there's
Another one I was low key disappointed is like I never got Tanahashi and Kento Miyahara. That got teased so much. I was so heartbroken we didn't get it.
You get them teaming together on a few tags. You get
the Baba Memorial with hitting that Yoshitatsu and all that. I'm just like, just give me one. Just give me one-on-one.
There's a moment where like Kento is wearing the old champion, what do you call it, the old Triple Crown, those belts, and Tanahashi just looks at those belts, and Kento gives him this "What are you looking at?" look on his face. It's like, all right, give us that, right?
Like, you want a title match? That was one of my big disappointments. Like, what is because around like the 2014s, like Kento was like fantastic. He was like a top talent, and he still is in All Japan. He's the only one that's like keeping that company alive.
It's him and I think more than people realize, the Saito brothers as well. Regardless of what a lot of fans think of their in-ring, huge mainstream crossover and kind of YouTube presence and stuff. Like I think
they're both former sumos, right?
Yeah, and I think Yuma Anzai is the other guy I've got my eye on as far as pulling.
He's very impressive. Yuma Aoyagi, he's like such a hit and miss.
Yeah,
it's just more of how they handle his push. Like when it was like him, Jake Lee, and Nomura. I always thought like them and Kento be like that future pillar type of thing. Like not quite like them, but still like before. Then you have Jake Lee, who lost all his momentum when he won the belt finally with the Eclipse stuff, and then got injured, and then left, and everyone turned on them and Noah, and then New Japan.
Like
and then Noah doing the freelancing.
That moment where he lost the title to Sawama in, I'm trying to remember if it's 2022.
I think it was 2022.
Yeah, to set up the match in the Budokan, that just felt like a deflating moment. Like I remember watching that match, and my wife had to ask me, "Why are you so upset right now?"
Yeah, I got that from my friends. I was like what happened? Like first Suwaba doesn't put over Ishida when he should have, and then when Jake Lee finally gets that belt, it's just crap. And never again.
And it's just after such a great, it's like Kento Kobashi hands him the belt as well. Like, could ask for like do that moment and all of that, but do that in the Budokan instead as your main event, right? That's I'm holding on to that after what's approaching 4 years, but yeah, that was my biggest disappointment in Japanese wrestling that they did that. I don't know if you can say if that's worth it in the long term.
Yeah, that was definitely one like in recent memory. I'm just like oh boy. So I may need to take a break from this company for a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't know what's going on with them. I'll watch a few things here and there, but like it doesn't feel the same. Like I try, and Kento is just too good for that company. But I know if he leaves, they're kind of fucked.
I mean, also it's if he leaves, he's putting his career at the mercy of people that weren't there booking his rise. So for them, it's like he definitely couldn't do New Japan. Probably.
Yeah, I feel like that might be too late now.
And I think, there's money in him remaining loyal to All Japan and doing, like, eventually, I swear, one day, again, maybe high on pure copium here, but eventually going into other companies as a guest. I think someone like Miyahara is the only one that could do it right now with where things are at. But, like, I love the One Night Dream show with him and Nakajima. Like, that one in Noah that he did. I love that one, that match to death. That was one of my favorite matches that year.
I that was such a good match. And then Nakajima disappeared too. Yeah, his story is a unique one after he left. I was shocked he left too, because I know he originally before with Kaito, like the future young guy was Nakajima.
Yeah.
And after he got the belt, like that one time, like he didn't touch it for like years until like he grew his personality, like with the Congo group. So like when, I wonder like why that is. You think like did they just not see, like they feel like he was not ready, or
I mean, I think part of it too is probably viewed himself as he could be a bigger star than he was in Noah. He probably had the perception there that his star power could have been greater, that he could have been someone to make a real difference. They had him in more like your kind of second or third spot when he could have viewed himself as leader. And I think, right now he is where he isn't great. As far as being like one of their main stars and everything like that. It's just selfishly, I want him in one of the companies I watch regularly.
you're right.
I want him to be, and also at some point, he's won the GHC heavyweight title. He's won the as
He's
far
won
as
Triple Crown, yeah.
and he's won those junior belts as well. I just really want him to pick up the IWGP sometime. But yeah, the likelihood of that does not seem high right now. But yeah, that's my dream as far as that kind of guy goes. I think he deserves it. But yeah.
100%. I also during the Misawa Memorial, like we all knew about, like when he like collapsed in the ring, the stuff leading up to it, comments from people, like it's sad to read. It always is. I was kind of surprised. Did you not get permission to have Misawa's letter to Saito in here, or?
I kind of refer to it in there, like I kind of made some reference to it, but
because usually you had like the translations. I was kind of surprised you didn't like have that letter. Like, was there a reason for it, or just?
It's because it's like a lot of things here. I really struggle with the question of, in that one, with that whole thing, there's some detail to that story, and do you go into it or do you not? Do I get that translated or not? The other one was the exact medical details of how it was that he died. There's an explanation for that. Dave Meltzer goes into that. Right. I was like, I don't really want to include this because it starts to get to a point where it's like the grisly details of what happened there as opposed to the tragedy behind it. So there are some details I don't go into in this book at points because it becomes either a distraction or just it like becomes a bit much. So that's more the details behind his death. Or regarding that, I wrestled with the question of whether or not I got that letter translated or if I kind of kept that out. There's a bunch more too on top of that I would have loved to have had. So I saw it when I was in Japan last, the newer book that's out about Misawa. Like there's one about him, I think it might be called like Permanent Champion, or it translate like something like that. Hisame is currently in the process of translating that one.
Okay.
And
definitely check that
it's
out.
like a newer book. And it's like something like that I would have loved to have had my hands on while working through this one as well. So stuff like that, that is omitted as well. Like, yeah, you always say at the end of each book, there's more I wanted to concentrate on. There's more I want to go back to. There's mistakes I don't want to make again and things like that. And so each one you kind of just have to move on from like that.
No, I was just curious. I feel like you have all these translations. I'm just kind of curious because that letter is also really sad. Like it's just somebody had like ready for whoever, and he just apologizes. Like I broke your trust. I'm like that's not your fault.
Yeah, like he didn't really break anyone's trust. He
it was just how he felt. I was like that's just sad.
Yeah. And it's also though, like his whole philosophy of wrestling was kind of, you should be able to do what you want and you should be able to do that as long as you can take responsibility for doing that. So he chose that as far as the choices he made. I wish he'd made different choices though, as far as that sort of, and retired earlier when he was first thinking about retirement, because man, he was having those thoughts back as far as like 2007. Had he retired then, it would have been a very different story. And I always wonder how would Noah have turned out.
Yeah, like he would be more focused on like just being like the presidents, like maybe like commentate the main event, title matches. Yeah, it's always that what if. Do you feel like it's hard to watch a Misawa match because of everything he has done to himself?
Sometimes at the end, toward the latter part of his run, 2007 through to 2009, some of those matches are a little hard to watch like that because he's at a point where he's very clearly banged up and clearly needs to be out. But before that, I almost have, I'm sure other people feel the same way, a kind of bit of a disconnect between what we watch and the consequences of that.
Right.
It was like kind of. I can still watch Misawa's huge matches from the 90s and the 2000s and kind of think this is awesome.
Right.
Doesn't really align to me, almost a cognitive dissonance about it when we watch. But yeah, some of those last matches kind of when he's kind of in America and stuff like that. Some of those matches are a bit harder to watch because he's clearly banged up by that point, and it's clearly
and you know what it eventually leads to. It's just like like I can't, especially around that time. No, I agree. All right. For you personally, who is Misawa's best rivalry in your opinion?
That would be Kawada.
Yeah,
I love the Misawa Kawada matches. I feel like it's very difficult to top the story of the guy that you went to high school with, who was in your high school dorm room, who you bequeathed your high school jersey to, and who trained in the same dojo as you and kind of came up as a tag team, and then got to a point when you're both adults where your best matches are against each other, but who you beat in every single match up to a point. To me, that rivalry I'm surprised no one's made that into an anime already. I'm surprised there's no manga behind it. Like that's made
something that like inspires it type of thing. Because we just get mostly like the Tiger Mask anime with that,
right? But I think like you could have made, or someone still could make a great like Netflix should be on that already. As far as like Netflix Japan made a great series out of Dump Matsumoto's story, and I just think
I love that Queen of Villains.
Yeah,
that was so good.
And like, just get the same team behind the writing and the crafting of something like that to make a Misawa series,
and make Kawada like the producer type of thing. Should like
if he wants to be involved. I don't know. Like he dips in and out today with his ramen shop being what takes up so much of his time and his focus, but.
Right.
He's involved in making books and kind of dipping in and out of the scene. So it probably would be involved in something like that if they asked him. I don't know.
Since Kawada didn't like officially retire, would you like to see him actually have that retirement matches?
I would have said yes, like had you even asked me a couple of years ago. But now it's like he's actually in a bit of a bad way at points with even how long he has to stand up in his restaurant. Like he has to kind of be stewing all day for so many days a week to be the main chef working in his ramen restaurant, and that's taking a toll on his body. So now it's like I don't want to put him in that position anymore.
Okay, yeah.
I think we're at a years ago, team him with Kingston against like
or just have Kawada versus Taichi, his last disciple.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that when Taichi teased it, like when Kawada came by, like the visit, like commentary, type of thing, I was like, if we're gonna get a match, like give us like 5 minutes, like are we gonna
get the verbal equivalent of that every time he talks about Taichi and about how disappointed he is in them and stuff. Like we get the verbal down from Kawada, but yeah, years back I would have loved it, but I'm just at a point now where it's like I feel that too much, like.
Especially I say with like how he is at the ramen shop. He's like, you know what? I actually am good. it's like
maybe in a 10-man tag team match where he's on the apron for most of the match.
He just does one move.
Kicks the crap out of everyone, slaps on as far as the stretch plum goes, or puts
the Kawada kick if you can.
Hit that, pin 1, 2, 3. Kawada wins.
Yeah, there you go.
Do that maybe. I'd be up.
Yeah, it's either that or if he does a single, it would have to be like a couple minutes squash, like squash. I was saying, just beat the crap out of Taichi for like 3 minutes and just power about it.
I went into this discussion not wanting that. Now I want that. So like,
it could be in our heads.
yeah, that's the perfect retirement, right? Like him kicking the crap out of Taichi for 5 minutes straight.
Yeah,
Taichi gets some spots.
He's like, you know what, I'll give you props, but you're still disappointed.
Yeah. Like he's doing so well in New Japan right now as well. Like he was one of the highlights for me as far as the past year or so went.
Like as soon as he stopped being a junior is when I started to like him.
Yeah.
Like as a junior heavyweight, like that's just like did not work and it felt annoying. But we fought people like Naito, Ishii, stuff like that. I was like, you know, he's actually pretty good.
Yeah. When he puts effort in.
Yeah.
But like when my wife and I saw our first live New Japan show in 2013, he was one of the guys that stood out to her because she's like, he is a dick and he's unafraid to act like a dick.
My spouse hates him.
Yeah, like
they just look at me like, why do you like this guy? Like, stop! Yeah. It's like, stop! He's fine. Like he sings. Like, look at him. It's him singing. I promise.
Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise either. Like people in the microphone, like talking about on commentary about how that type of microphone is not hooked up. It's like, shut up. Of course it is.
Yeah, it's just totally him.
You'd be telling me.
I know what it sounds like.
Yeah.
But before we go, I was supposed to say, like, what's next? Like, what's your next projects outside of the AJW?
Oh man, I'll have to talk to you about it off air because there's nothing that's been announced yet. But the AJW one's coming up after this. I'm still hanging out for them to get around to releasing this one. I'm looking forward to actually getting the Noah book out later on this year. Just after the initial release that we had for the promotion of the campaign, trying to get that general release out is my next step, and then after that, the AW book. But there's definitely stuff I'm working on and stuff that I'm excited about. But I try not to talk about it too much because if I talk about something, then I end up not doing it. I need to like be quiet about stuff and just put energy into it. Or,
I get it. I'm not that way too, especially when a couple years ago I started to write more when I was covering like various like Japanese matches, the shows, stuff like that. And then it led into I tackled a little too much, and now I'm just like. And then the pandemic happened, and I was working nonstop. I was like, I can't even fucking write anymore. I have no time to write because by the time I'm like home at like 8 o'clock at night, then I gotta watch the show, which is 4 hours. I gotta write about it, and then I gotta go to bed.
4 hours of wrestling, I don't know. It can be. It depends on the show, right? Like, there's a couple of shows I'd say that like Wrestle Kingdom in 2017. Sure, give me 4 hours of that, but. Yeah, outside of that, plus having to write about it, it's like, I guess you could give up sleep. That's one way.
Yeah, no. I this is why I'm now just talking about them as after the show airs. That type of thing. But no, I do hope you get a more general release because I know people do want to read this. The guy that runs the Dirt Sheet page, he definitely wanted a copy because he loves that All Japan, old school Noah history too. So I actually might let him borrow a copy of this book.
There'll be one coming up soon. It's just I obviously it's out of my hands, but I'm not good at waiting either. I'm impatient for stuff.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but once it comes out, I'll definitely link it on the page for people that are interested in buying it because again, it's a great read. Especially if you love the Japanese wrestling or Noah, it's definitely a fascinating thing, like the rise of Foye and the slowly coming back. Like you told, like you got that free act story, even though you got like subtitles of it in between, but you conveyed it in such a way it's easy to read. People that aren't aware of it, they can learn so much from it. And for people that do know that, maybe they're just like, okay, I didn't know that, or they may have missed something, which like I did some of these, and that's why I think that's great. So kudos to you for that, and I cannot wait for your next projects. I'm definitely gonna get those copies as well. But,
Appreciate it. It's,
yes, but
trying to get people to buy it is a whole different thing and a whole lot of work in itself too. On top of all that.
yeah. But before we sign off, tell them where they can follow you on social media.
So at Jonathan Foye on, let's just call it Twitter, because
I do too. So
yeah, I'm not calling it X or whatever it is.
Yeah, no.
Musk can have his own delusions. I'm not buying into him. So there's that. There's same on Blue Sky. Trying to be on there a little bit more now. I think it's a little bit less
chaotic
times as far as social media places go.
Yeah, I can't download any more social media. I'm just like I got it what various ones to begin with. I need it for content, whether it's wrestling or my anime pod where I need to get news and stuff like that.
Right. Like, yeah, otherwise it'd be off there immediately.
Yeah, 100%. Me too. But yeah, guys, thank you all that have joined us. Again, please follow John Foye on various social media platforms. Check out his follow him when he gets more books coming out. We provide links if you want to back up on whether it's like another Indiegogo type of thing or just a general run release. We'll get that out of the way. Follow Dershi Radio on all your social media platforms, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, YouTube. The people that are watching this live, thank you all so much. If you're going to see the replay, it'll be on Facebook and YouTube as well. Follow me every Thursday covering TNA Impact, where I get my alcoholism and for how the shows are booked with me and my friend. Follow my anime pod about every Tuesday at Dr. Cafe if you want, or your other different type of needs. But with that, thank you all so much, John. Thank you. This was a blast. I haven't done an interview. It's been a year since I've done an interview, and I'm glad I was able to do this with you. But guys, take care. Good night, everybody.
This concludes our broadcast day. Good night, and God bless
The sport of professional wrestling.